The gangway rattles beneath your feet as you step onto the ship, and suddenly you're somewhere else entirely. Gone is the port terminal, the luggage chaos, the sound of impatient travelers. Now it's polished marble floors, gleaming chrome rails, and the faint hum of the engines below. You breathe in that unmistakable mix and a little salt from the sea air, a whiff of floral cleaning spray, and somewhere in the distance, food. It hits you before you even realize where you're headed. The scent is warm and inviting. Roasted meats, fresh bread, something sweet, maybe chocolate. Your feet carry you past the pools, past the bars, down a wide corridor where the sound changes. There's the clink of silverware on plates, the low rumble of conversation, the hiss of a flat-top grill. You turn the corner and suddenly, there it is, the buffet. Endless rows of shining trays under glowing heat lamps. Salads as bright as stained glass, desserts arranged like edible jewelry, pizza fresh from the oven, shrimp on ice, pasta tossed before your eyes. It's all here, it's all yours, and best of all, it's all included. But here's what no one tells you in the brochures: this dream can turn on you. One wrong choice, one thoughtless moment, and the buffet becomes a battlefield. A place where frustration simmers, where unspoken rules are broken, where a simple meal can spiral into stress, waste, or even illness. These mistakes happen every single day on every single cruise, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, MSC, and most passengers never realize until it's too late. The question is, are you about to walk straight into them? Welcome to Cruise Watch, the place where we strip away the brochure gloss and tell you what really happens at sea. If you want the insider tips, the quiet tricks, and the unfiltered truths that turn a good cruise into a great one, subscribe now and join a crew of travelers who always know what's coming before it happens. A cruise buffet is unlike any other dining experience on land. It's not just about food, it's about freedom. Freedom to choose anything, to try everything, to eat at nearly any hour without thinking about the bill. And that freedom can feel intoxicating until you realize you're sharing it with thousands of other people, all navigating the same space, all touching the same utensils, all trying to get their share. It's a delicate balance. The ship's crew designs it to flow smoothly, but all it takes is a few poor decisions, by you or by someone else, to throw that balance off. What begins as a relaxed, joyful meal can quickly become a crowded, frustrating, and even unhygienic experience. And when you're on a cruise where every meal could be a highlight, that's a tragedy you can avoid. Today, we're diving into the 15 most common cruise buffet mistakes, the little slip-ups that can ruin not just your lunch, but your whole day at sea. And more importantly, we'll walk through how to avoid them so the buffet becomes what it's meant to be, one of the best parts of your voyage. Embarkation day is magic. You step on board buzzing with anticipation, exploring every corner of the ship. The sun's glinting off the pool water, music plays from somewhere overhead, and your stomach starts to remind you it's been a while since breakfast. Then you smell it. Something warm, something fried, something sweet. Like moths to a flame, you and hundreds of others follow it to the buffet. And that's when the magic falters. Instead of a calm, abundant spread, you walk into a scene of pure gridlock. The line wraps out the door. People inch forward, balancing trays with one hand and luggage with the other. Families hover awkwardly in the aisles, searching for a table. Kids dart between legs, dripping ice cream on the carpet. Someone stops mid-line to take a selfie, blocking everyone behind them. On a Carnival ship I sailed last year, I timed it. From the moment a couple entered the buffet to the moment they finally sat down with food, 22 minutes had passed, and their plates were already lukewarm. By the time they finished eating, they looked more relieved than happy. Here's the truth. The Embarcation Day buffet is a trap. Everyone thinks it's the obvious choice for that first onboard meal, which is exactly why it's so miserable. Veteran cruisers know better. They skip it entirely. Instead, they slip quietly into the main dining room, where lunch is served by waitstaff. The atmosphere is calm, and the food, often, is better. Or they grab a burger at the poolside grill, snag a quick pizza slice, or even treat themselves to a discounted specialty restaurant meal. A little perk cruise lines sometimes offer on day one to draw people away from the chaos. By avoiding the buffet on Embarkation Day, you dodge the worst crowd you'll face all week. You start your cruise with a relaxed meal instead of a frantic one. And trust me, when the ship finally sets sail, you'll be glad you saved your first buffet trip for calmer seas. There's something about all you can eat that switches off the rational part of our brains. You stand there with an empty plate, and suddenly it's as if you're shopping for the apocalypse. You start with a scoop of mac and cheese, then you see fried chicken, then shrimp cocktail, then pizza, then meatballs. By the time you reach the end of the line, your plate looks like a small mountain range, and nothing on it really belongs together. The problem? Twofold. First, you waste food you don't actually want after the first bite. Second, you fill up so fast that you miss the good stuff. The special dishes tucked at the end of the line or hidden at side stations. On a Royal Caribbean cruise, I watched a man heap his plate with fries at the first station, only to walk past a chef slicing perfectly cooked roast beef 20 steps later. He glanced at it, groaned, and kept walking. Nowhere to put it. Seasoned cruisers approach the buffet like explorers, not hoarders. They take small portions at first, a little of what looks interesting, then go back for seconds or thirds of what was truly worth it. They leave room for surprises because on many ships certain dishes appear for a short window and then vanish. That delicate chocolate mousse, it might only be out for 20 minutes. That fresh sushi, gone the moment the tray empties. When you pace yourself, you not only enjoy your food more, you also keep the option open to taste the things you didn't know you'd love. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A buffet is a shared experience in every sense of the word, including the germs. Every serving spoon, every drink handle, every bread tongue has been touched by countless people before you, and yet, too many passengers treat the hygiene stations at the entrance as decoration. On an MSC sailing last year, I watched a family breeze past the sanitizer stand, head straight for the bread, and tear it apart with their bare hands. Another time, on Norwegian, I saw a child lick the soft-serve machine's handle. His parents laughed. The crew, to their credit, shut down the station immediately for cleaning. There's a reason cruise lines put hand-washing stations and sanitizer dispensers at every entrance. They're not suggestions. They're your best defense against spending the rest of your cruise in your cabin nursing an upset stomach. The smart move is simple. Wash or sanitize before you touch a single utensil. Don't use your fingers for shared food. Don't double dip into sauces. And for the love of your fellow passengers, if you've already taken a bite of something, it should never go back on a communal tray. A few seconds of hygiene can mean the difference between enjoying every port of call and spending your vacation wishing you'd been more careful. Here's a little-known fact. Cruise buffets are designed to make you think you've seen it all, when really, you haven't. The first section you see is almost always the most familiar: pasta, pizza, maybe some grilled chicken, and many people stop right there, piling their plates before realizing the real treasures are further in. On one princess sailing, I met a couple who filled up on spaghetti and garlic bread at the first station. 10 minutes later, while exploring the other side of the buffet, they stumbled across a freshly stocked sushi station. The look on their faces? Utter regret. That's why the reconnaissance lap is a pro move. Before you pick up a plate, walk the entire buffet. Check the far ends, the corners, the stations off to the side. Some ships rotate specialty dishes daily and hide them in different spots. A Thai curry one day, a carving station the next. By scouting first, you get the lay of the land. You know where the gems are, and you can build your plate like a curated tasting menu instead of a random grab bag. And best of all, you avoid that sinking feeling of realizing the best thing on the ship is sitting just out of reach on someone else's plate. Some mistakes aren't about germs or food choices, they're about how you move, stand, and behave in the buffet. Cruise buffet etiquette may not be written on the walls, but trust me, it's very real. First rule, don't cut in line. It sounds obvious, but the number of times I've seen someone slide in from the side pretending to just grab one thing is staggering. On a Carnival sailing to the Bahamas, a man tried it at the omelet station. The person he cut in front of, an elderly woman who'd been waiting patiently for 10 minutes, called him out. Loudly. Half the buffet turned to watch. It wasn't pretty. Second rule, don't block the station. If you can't decide between ranch and vinaigrette, step aside and let others pass. The buffet isn't a private tasting room. Third, use a clean plate every time you go back, even if you only had breadcrumbs on it. That plate has touched your used utensils, your mouth, and maybe other surfaces. The last thing anyone wants is yesterday's coleslaw mixing with today's chicken curry. And finally, when you're done eating, give up your table. On one sea day aboard Royal Caribbean, I saw a group set up a card game at their table after lunch, sipping coffee and ignoring the line of passengers hunting desperately for seats. I watched one family wander with trays for 7 minutes before finally giving up and sitting on the edge of the pool with their food balanced on their knees. If you treat the buffet like your own living room, you'll quickly become that passenger people complain about in cruise forums. But if you show awareness and respect for everyone else in the room, you'll find your own experience is better, calmer, and maybe even friendlier. Sometimes it's the smallest things that create the biggest ripple effects in the buffet experience. Take clothing, for example. Walking straight in from the pool in a dripping swimsuit isn't just against the rules, it's uncomfortable for everyone else. The sight of water droplets splashing onto the bread rolls is enough to make appetites vanish. It's also a hygiene issue. The fix? Keep a dry shirt, shorts, and sandals in your pool bag. It takes 30 seconds to change, and you can enjoy your meal without the death stares from fellow passengers. Then there's dessert. So many people skip it in a moment of calorie-conscious resolve, only to regret it for the rest of the cruise. I once met a passenger on Norwegian who skipped the dessert station all week, telling herself she'd be good. On the final night, she gave in and discovered a passion fruit mousse so perfect, she actually groaned after the first bite. She went back for seconds, but it was gone. She still talks about it. Cruise pastry chefs are artists. Their creations often use ingredients or recipes you won't find in your local bakery. My advice? Take a small portion of anything that catches your eye. Share if you want, but don't assume it'll be there tomorrow. And here's a rookie error that's easy to fix: forgetting your drink. You pile your plate with food, sit down, and realize your throat is dry as the Sahara. Now you have two options: leave your plate unattended or awkwardly juggle it through the drink station. Avoid the whole mess by grabbing your drink first. Better yet, bring a reusable water bottle and fill it before you even step into the buffet line. These little habits might not seem like much, but they make the difference between a smooth, enjoyable meal and one filled with interruptions, regret, or discomfort. If you think cruise buffets are designed for easy navigation, think again. Their layouts are optimized for maximum seating and food stations, not for helping you find your table again. It's a running joke among frequent cruisers. You walk out for just one more roll, and suddenly your table is gone. You're wandering through rows of near-identical tables, balancing a plate, scanning faces like you're in some strange dining room version of Where's Waldo? On a Carnival sailing in the Caribbean, I saw a man carry a bowl of soup in slow, careful circles for what had to be 5 minutes. By the time he found his table, the soup was barely warm. Veterans avoid this by memorizing landmarks. Is your table near the pasta station? 3 seats from the large column with the tropical flower arrangement, right beside the big window on the port side. On some ships, sections are numbered, and smart passengers note the number before heading out for seconds. If all else fails, follow your senses. The smell of freshly baked bread might lead you toward the bakery section, which you remember is close to your seat. The sound of a waiter stacking plates might guide you to your corner. And if you get lost entirely, treat it as an opportunity to discover a station you missed earlier. Just remember to actually find your table eventually. Behind the mountain of shrimp, the perfectly carved roasts, and the spotless tables is a workforce that rarely gets the spotlight. The buffet staff. Chefs start before sunrise, prepping dishes you'll never see until hours later. They work in heat, handling huge quantities of food while maintaining exacting safety standards. The service crew moves like clockwork, clearing tables in seconds, restocking trays before you even notice they're low, smiling at hundreds of strangers a day. Many work 12 to 14 hours, 7 days a week, for months without seeing their families. On a recent MSC cruise, I watched a waiter in the buffet notice an elderly man struggling with his tray. Without a word, he took it, carried it to a table, and even fetched the man's drink. The man's face lit up, a small kindness that transformed his meal. Too often passengers breeze through without even making eye contact. But here's something worth remembering. A simple thank you, a warm smile, or mentioning a crew member's name in your post-cruise survey can have a huge impact. In fact, I've seen kindness rewarded. Passengers who treat the staff with respect sometimes find themselves tipped off to special dishes, offered better tables, or even given a little extra of their favorite dessert. The buffet isn't just about food, it's about people. The ones you dine with and the ones who make dining possible. After all these mistakes, you might expect the worst one to be about hygiene or timing or wasted food. But the truth is simpler and more powerful. The biggest mistake is forgetting that the buffet is an experience, not just a transaction. It's a space where the ship's entire story comes together. You'll see a family laughing over pancakes, a couple yet toasting with champagne, a solo traveler chatting with strangers about the best port excursions. You'll hear a dozen languages at once, smell foods from around the world, and watch the sun set over the ocean while you savor something you've never tasted before. When you treat it like a race, to grab the most food, to finish fastest, to get in and out without looking up, you miss all of that. You miss the moment. And on a cruise where every day is fleeting, missing the moment is the biggest loss of all. So how do you make the buffet one of the highlights of your cruise instead of a stress point? It's simple, but it requires awareness. On embarkation day, skip the chaos and eat somewhere quieter. Take small portions first so you can discover what's worth going back for. Sanitize your hands every time. Scout the entire buffet before committing to your first plate. Avoid peak hours when possible. Dress appropriately. Never skip dessert entirely. And make sure you've got your drink before you sit down. Memorize your table's location before leaving it. And above all, acknowledge the crew who make it all possible. Do these things, and you'll find that the buffet stops being a chaotic feeding frenzy and becomes a calm, enjoyable, and even memorable part of your cruise. Thank you for joining me here on Cruise Watch. If you've learned something today that'll make your next cruise smoother or tastier, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Cruise Watch for more insider tips, real cruise stories, and behind-the-scenes truths you won't find in the brochures. Until next time, happy sailing and happy eating.